Hi, welcome to TAM Lab Nano. My name's Guy Bowdler and I'm a senior TAM in the UK and Northern Ireland TAM team. And today I'm going to be talking to you about Skyline Health Diagnostics. I'm going to cover what it is, where to get it, how to install and configure it, and how to use it. So, without further ado, let's go. Okay, so what is Skyline Health Diagnostics? It is a tool that you can download and install free of charge and use on-premise to do live log bundle analysis for vSphere products without having to upload those to GSS. So it's a self-service tool to give you a heads up. It's not a replacement for GSS. It's not the same as Skyline itself, VMware Skyline, which is another cloud-based product, but this is a tool that you can run yourself in your environment. This is looking at the VMware blog page, which I always recommend as being the best place to get your starter for any new technologies in VMware. If you want to get your heads over of the why we're doing it and what it is before you dive into the documentation, the VMware blogs are a great place to start. This one is done by Jati and Purahit, and it covers a lot about the groundings of the tool. So if you're still confused after this video, I hope not, but if you still are, this is a great place to start under blogs.vmware.com. But what we've got here is a little bit of the architecture here. I'm not going to spend too long on this page, but basically you've got a Photon OS installed with the Skyline Health Diagnostics application in it. It communicates, if you want it to an update server to get down updates to the application and the VMware compatibility guide. Also provides telemetry data to us. But internally, whether you're connected to the internet or not, it will connect to your vCenter server and ESXi hosts and download the log bundles and do live analysis of those and provide you with a clearer view of what those logs contain about the errors, the issues, and give you links and information and KB links as well on how to help resolve those. Like I say, very, very easy to use and install, and equally useful in offline environments as well as it is on online environments. So we've talked about the blogs. Where to get information about this? If you just Google VMware Skyline Health Diagnostics, you'll see the first few links are the blog itself, the documentation page, and the download page, and the PDF for the user guide. So these are the four main links you want. Just a big shout out to my colleagues. I noticed it was down here earlier on. Also a good blog by our colleague Simon Conyard, who goes as Virtual Simon on the internet, so check out his blogs too. A little bit shameless promotion for a friend there. Okay, so on the download page, it will take you to the Skyline Health Diagnostics page. You log on to the VMware portal, and here it is, logged onto the VMware portal, and you can download the ISO itself and the installation guide. Actually, one page that's not open that needs to be is this one. If you haven't got a Photon on iOS itself, go to vmware.github.io/Photon, and you can download that here in a number of different formats, either as an ISO, different cloud-based images for a Pi, but also the easiest way to get hold of it is via an OVA, and that's what I installed earlier on locally. So we'll talk about this in a bit more. So that's how you get Photon, and there's a separate video which I'm going to do called Getting Started with Photon OS, which talks about the basics of preparing it for lab use. It comes out of the box pretty secure anyway, but a lab use where we kind of loosen off and make it a little bit more user-friendly for lab use day to day and coping with lots of snapshots and what have you. Okay, and that is the guide with lots of detailed information about how to operationalize it, as well as just installing it in the lab, like creating certificate requests if you want to install it as an appliance or what have you. Okay, so now I've just got it in VMware Workstation here. You could deploy it either locally on your as a Fusion or a Workstation VM, or anything that takes an OVA, or you can deploy it as an appliance in your environment and can use it that way. So it's entirely up to you. I've chosen to use it on my machine because it's a lot easier. So I've got a VM pre-configured. Like I say, I'm going to do another video on covering that a bit more detail, so I'm just going to connect to that. Okay, there we go. Right, never work with children, animals and computers. Okay, so I've logged on to my Photon VM. I've given it a fixed IP address of 10.0.1.68, and this particular one's pre-configured. A few things I've weakened the requirement for password aging and password complexity, so I can log into with simple lab passwords, and a few other bits and bobs. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is mount our ISO. So I'm going to go to where I've downloaded it, make sure I've got the right path. Okay, now I'm going to install an earlier version because I'm going to show you how to install it, update it a bit later on. Going to connect it, click OK. Right, for those of you who don't know Linux, all hardware devices are created as files in the file system. So in order to mount the CD-ROM, I'm going to use the mount command. The actual CD-ROM is accessible at this path, and there's a pre-configured mount point for it available as part of the OS. Most Linux distributions will do this. There we go. Okay, so let's just change to that and show what we've got. Right, we've got a very simple install script which basically just lists a few environment variables and a few RPM installs, and if I just ls the folder, you'll just see that we've got some RPMs and the open source license in there. So let's just clear the decks a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to run the install. Notice it's the full path to the install if you don't put bash in front. Right, here we go. Right, so we're just generating an SSL key. It's going to start the services, install those RPMs, install Nginx, which is our web server, create some firewall rules and get those all started. Shouldn't take too long to do. And once that's done, it's going to prompt me to create a user account. The user account is called SHD admin, and we have a complex password to create here. So I'm just going to double up our usual lab password here, enter that twice, boom, and there we go. Okay, it says here, please point your browser to HTTPS Photon machine to access service. Well, by default in the OVA, our machine is called hostname, it's called Photon machine. However, if I just pop this up, whoops, we will see that we've got our Nginx process listening on TCP port 8443. Now, okay, so we're done with the install. That's all there was to it. So let's just open a tab and go to 10.0.1.68.8443/login, which is where I've installed it. Okay, I haven't bothered with the detecting the certificate. You can change this for a corporate side one if you want. Okay, so now I'm presented with the Skyline Login Diagnostics page. Remember, we created the SHD admin user when we installed it, and it's a complex password. Okay, and we have to accept the EULA. So there we go. Now here's the opportunity to join the Customer Experience Improvement Program. If you do that, you get all the benefits of the updates, and it's also pointing out here that you get the benefits of doing so in vCenter as well, things like vCenter Server Update Planner in vSphere 7 and Skyline Health of vSAN and vSphere. So lots of benefits for doing that, so I always encourage people to do it if you can, because that's how we find out what's out in the world. All those fringe cases we get notifications out, and we can fix the software before they become problems for other people. Okay, so having logged in, you're presented with this screen. We've got four main tabs: collect logs and analyze, upload log and analyze, show reports, and settings. So let's just go to the settings first, have a quick poke around in here. On the upgrade and history tab, we've got ability to check the tool for updates and the VCG update, and I'll come back to this in a minute. There's a small issue with 2.01 on the VCG side, but if I just click checks tool updates, you'll see straight away that it's telling me the latest version is 2.0.3. although I've recently just downloaded 2.0.4. Obviously hadn't updated the manifest yet on our website, and did the same thing in VCG. Now this, if I do this, it's going to fail because there's a bug in 2.01 with updating here. This is fixed in 2.0.4. Here you can review your CEIP status and show that your internet connection is actually working, and of course you can always leave the program at any point you want, so you can join the program, do your updates and leave the program thereafter if you want to. And if you want to see what we're collecting, the show data just shows you some examples of the kind of data that we're collecting from the Skyline Health Diagnostics tool. It doesn't correlate, so joining this doesn't join you to vCenter. Okay. Oops. Okay, we don't want that. Right, so you can add other users if you want. On my laptop this makes no sense, but if you had this in a enterprise environment as an appliance, you might want to add other users here, and you can reset your password as well as using the command line tool. You can enable an internet proxy if you need to, and get some more help and support. And if you have issues and you're raising support requests about this, as a VMware customer, if you've got support, then you can upload the bundles and create issues on it. And some information here about what version and the size that it's using up as well. Okay, so have a quick look around. We're going to do this later on. Actually, not going to use that later on, but you can always upload your bundles here. But what we're going to do in this is just go to collect logs and analyze and connect it to a vCenter host directly. If you have access to your management network, you can do this, but you can also download them directly and upload them to the tool. It's the same process, just without the connection. So I'm just going to put in my vCenter details. And the password. I'm going to skip the SSL check and check my connection. If the demo gods are kind, which they are, we have a successful connection to vCenter server. So now I'm just going to run my diagnostics. It's going to hop off and talk to my vCenter and tell me what I've got available. I'm going to include the vCenter bundle, click all that. I haven't got these hosts running at the moment because my little laptop will complain. So I'm just going to select the vCenter server itself and this ESXi host. And click validate. Okay, it likes that, so I'm going to click finish. Okay, now that's going to go off. I scroll down and start this process of generating the log bundle, downloading the log bundle, extracting it, validating it, running the diagnostics, and giving a final report. So that's going to take a few minutes. What I'm just going to do is show you the screen that finishes with. My laptop keep up with me. There we go, on the wrong window of course. Okay, so when that is done, you're going to get all of these ticked off and the report beneath it. Okay, now the reason I've shown this as a GIF is because once I've clicked away from this screen, it doesn't look quite like this anymore. It goes back clean and the report shows in the reports. Well, this is what this screen will look like at the end of those reports. So let's just close that down. Now to save time, because obviously this is going to take some time, I'm just going to use the magic of VM wizardry to jump forward in time to for a snapshot where I've got these reports run. And then I can show you though what the reports look like. Okay, I'm just going to refresh this because obviously that connection is not valid anymore. And if it's going to go wrong, this is where it's going to go wrong. Let's see, I've got to do that twice. And no, the gods are kind. And as you can see, like I said, this screen is now cleared out again, but my reports are available to me in here. So I'm going to expand this. So I've got a number of options. I can view the report up here, taking me to an interactive window, or I can just expand individually in here and see all the particular errors. So you can see here that we've got the ESXi build number, it's completed its run, it's found 2 issues, it's got the build number of the ESXi host, the time it was run and how long it took to run. And each of these show me I've got a couple of errors about VCG related errors because it's a virtual machine, some storage bottleneck errors. I can click on view details and that brings me up a bit of advice here. Please check for storage issues. Now if there were KBs relative to this particular plugin, they would also be here and we could click those, or go, and if we're offline, go and type those in. I think, and like I say, this is a very vanilla vCenter. Yours being a production environment will have a lot more in it than this, and have a lot more detail than mine. But this is just telling me that my vCenter appliance is too small, because I made a very small one, then I made it even smaller because of my laptop. To get a more interactive view of these reports, click on this button here, and it opens in a bit more colourful in a new window, and you can expand them out, and it sees all the details, the actual part of the log that it's talking about, so you can read through the different logs and get more information. And again, any details of any KBs will be here. Now the number of plugins, you'll see it's run 250 plugins here. These are being added to all the time as the product improves. Okay, so let's just quickly go back to settings here. Check tool updates again. I'm just going to run through a quick update and see if this works. I'm not going to do VCG up because there is actually a bug here. Okay, this is fixed in later versions. So if you're running 2.01 and wondering why the VCG is not working, just update and you'll be fine. If you want to update offline, all you do is download the ISO again, mount it, and do the same install process as you did earlier on. So I'll go through that in a second. And that's just going to download the updates and install that for me. If I go back to my command line and change the CD over, so I'm just going to disconnect that. Actually no, what I'm going to do first is unmount it. Notice the okay, so obviously because I reset, just check whether I'm mounted or not. Yeah, the CD-ROM schematic. I'm just going to U-mount the CD-ROM. Okay, and I'm going to change it over for a new one. Disconnect. Yes. Browse. Okay, 2.0 file. Click open. I'm going to connect it. There we go. Just going to pop off and just close this window down just to stop that. Minimize. Bring back this. Okay, so I'm going to remount my CD-ROM. There we go. Where are we? Okay. And you'll see we've got same thing, same script, except it now says VMware SHD 2.04. Run the install again. There we go. So it's showing me the Nginx is already installed. Give me a warning. It's a new one. And it shouldn't ask me again. No, it hasn't asked me again. So now we have 2.04 installed. Go back to my browser. So I'm bouncing around a little bit, but log in again. And there we go. Now we've got 2.0.4, and I see we've got some themes brought in if we want them. One last thing before we do go, I'm just going to show you a couple of things to do some more configuration of it. If you are using it on your lab and you don't want things like password expiry, what you can do, if you go to the application directory, now you can just tab through quite easily because there aren't many subfolders there. Okay, there's a file here called VMware.shd.conf, and that's just under opt VMware SHD app API server. If you're not sure what it is, just type locate after you install it. You do an update DB and then just go locate VMware-SHD. The update DB updates the locate database following the install, and then you can just tells you where those are if you can't remember, and you can just copy and paste those in. So I'm just going to quickly open up that file, and you can see in here we've got a number of different things here. Now I've already tweaked this. By default this will remember 3 passwords and expire every 90 days. I've changed the history to 0 and the passage to 2000 days. There are other settings you can tweak in here, and they're listed in the documentation, but just setting that history to 0 and the passage to 2000 will stop the password expiring on this, which when you're using it on your workstation is completely fine. Okay, one thing is when you quit with Vim, just do that exclamation mark to override, and that will update the file accordingly without having to change the owner, because obviously I'm logged in as root. It's user VMware SHD and users. I could just do an O+W there with Chmod, but it's easier just to do an override. Okay, so that covers the installation and basic usage and configuration of VMware Skyline Health Diagnostics. I hope you find it useful, and I hope you found the video useful. I'll see you again in another video. Take care. Bye bye.